lost city of Atlantis is a very fascinating and mysterious story for many, and many dreamers have searched for it throughout time, but many archaeologists believe that Atlantis is just a legendary story in Plato's books. Atlantis is a lost peninsula that is idealized as an advanced and utopian society that many believe can bring world peace. It has captivated dreamers, explorers, and many others. Thousands of books, magazines, and websites are devoted to Atlantis, and it remains a popular topic, with many people devoting their lives to finding the lost city of Atlantis. The origin of Atlantis. Unlike many legends whose origins are lost in the mists of time, we know exactly when and where the story of Atlantis first emerged. The Greek philosopher Plato mentioned it for the first time in two dialogues in Timaeus and Critias in 360 BC. Plato said about Atlantis, a large island with expensive houses, a powerful kingdom with advanced technology and an unparalleled navy, which was completely destroyed by fire and earthquake in 9600 BC in one terrible night. Although today Atlantis is thought of as a peaceful utopia, the Atlantis described by Plato in his story was very different. Archaeology professor Ken Feder notes in the book Encyclopedia of Dubious Archaeology that in Plato's story, Atlantis is not a place where everyone is equal and respected. Atlantis is not a perfect society, quite the opposite. It represents a wealthy nation with advanced technology and military power that has been corrupted by wealth and power. Feder goes on to say, in Plato's legendary story, Atlantis is more of an epic rival to the city of Athens than a sunken civilization. If Atlantis really existed today and was found intact and inhabited, its inhabitants would probably try to kill or enslave us all. It is clear that Plato created Atlantis as a basis for his stories, as there is no evidence of it anywhere in the world. There are many Greek texts that surely if this city existed someone else would have at least mentioned it. There are no sources or evidence to show that legends about Atlantis existed before Plato. In Meet Me in Atlantis, Across Three Continents in Search of the Legendary Lost City, Mark Adams explains how an ordinary Greek myth became so famous. The first time was a man from Minnesota in America named Ignatius Donnelly who started dreaming about the lost city of Atlantis. Adams says Donnelly was a congressman and amateur historian who, in his 1882 book Atlantis, The Antediluvian World, claimed that all major advances in civilization and technology could be found on Plato's lost island. But Donnelly went beyond popularizing Plato's story. He added some of his own comments and ideas to Plato's story, which became part of the Atlantis myth. Donnelly promoted the theory that all great cultures had their roots in a single source. Adams describes Donnelly as the first great Atlantean fundamentalist because he believed that Plato's story was actually outside of otherworldly elements such as Poseidon. Donnelly sent a copy of his book to Charles Darwin, which he found interesting but unconvincing. After many reviews of Donnelly's writings, Adams says, he was like the wind, he published ideas and theories that he knew he was the source of without reasonable doubt. Later, other writers who were less skeptical of Donnelly's theories added their own explanations, theories, and speculations. These authors include Madame Blavatsky with her book The Secret Doctrine in 1888 and the famous psychologist Edgar Cayce in the 1920s. Cayce, who put a fundamentalist Christian spin on the Atlantis story, gave psychic readings to thousands of people, telling them that many of them had lived in Atlantis in their past lives. Unfortunately, none of Cayce's statements could be verified, and he incorrectly predicted that the continent would be discovered in 1969. The Lost Continent. Despite the clear origin of the story of the city of Atlantis, many people over the centuries have claimed that there must be truth behind every legend, and have speculated about where it was discovered. Countless experts of the lost continent of Atlantis around the world, based on a set of similar points and along with evidence and strange arguments, have proposed places such as the Atlantic Ocean, Antarctica, Bolivia, Turkey, Germany, Malta, and the Caribbean as the location of the discovery of the lost continent. According to Plato, the location of Atlantis is quite clear. In its ocean it was possible to sail. In front of its opening, as the Greeks say, there were the Pillars of Hercules, an island that was larger than Libya and Asia in total. In other words, it was located in the Atlantic Ocean beyond the Pillars of Hercules, i.e. the Strait of Gibraltar at the mouth of the Mediterranean Sea, yet it was never found in the Atlantic Ocean or anywhere else. The only way to make a mystery out of Atlantis, assuming it was once a real place, is to ignore its obvious origin as a moral fable and change the details of Plato's story. By adding, omitting, or misinterpreting various details mentioned in Plato's works, almost any suggested place could fit his description. One of the most obvious signs that Atlantis is a myth is that despite the advances in oceanography and ocean floor mapping in the past decades, no traces of it have been found. For almost 2 millennia, readers could forget the suspicion that much of a city or continent might be submerged and hidden. Although there are many mysteries in the depths of the world's oceans, it is inconceivable that the world's oceanographers, submarines and deep-sea explorers have not mistakenly found a land that is larger than Libya and Asia combined. In addition, plate tectonics shows that the disappearance of Atlantis is impossible. As the continents move, the sea floor expands over time rather than contracting. It is not easy to sink Atlantis anywhere. Ken Feder notes, geologically it's obvious, no large area could be found that could contain the Great Atlantis. Modern archaeology and geology have provided a clear verdict on this matter: there was no continent called Atlantis, and there was no great civilization called Atlantis. Ignatius Donnelly was confident in his theory and predicted that soon hard evidence of the sunken city would be found and museums around the world would one day be filled with Atlantean artifacts. However, more than 130 years have passed since Donnelly's prediction and no evidence has been discovered. The legend of Atlantis has been kept alive by popular fantasy as a lost utopia. However, the lost city of Atlantis was never lost where it came from, the books of Plato.